Today we have a full in-depth look at the Sigma 16mm F1.4 for you. This is going to be on Sony E-mount APS-C cameras, but it's available on other camera mounts as well. We're going to break it down as usual, everything that you need to know about this lens to figure out whether or not you should buy it. Let's get started. Welcome back, guys. Today we're talking Sigma 16mm F1.4, or if you take the crop factor into consideration, more like 24mm equivalent, but it's a great option for you APS-C shooters because there's not a heck of a lot of wide angle options for you. Now, here's some specs to get you going on this lens if you don't know anything about it. And if you haven't seen one of my videos, my name's Stefan Malloch. I do a lot of photography and filmmaking news reviews and tutorials. So if you do enjoy this type of content and you like this video and it helps you out, consider hitting that like and subscribe button and definitely join the community. With that said, who do I recommend this lens to? Really anybody. It's a great size, weight, and definitely price, which is going to be really attractive if you're just getting started out in photography. It's a great performing, fast, wide angle prime that will take your photos to the next level above that kit lens. So let's jump in and have a closer look, starting of course with the build. Okay, so what's in the box and how about the build and features of this lens? All you'll find is a little bit of paperwork and the lens and a lens hood, the very basics with this Sigma contemporary line of lenses, and that's going to be it. The lens itself is a well put together plastic build measuring 4 7/8 inches long with the lens hood installed and only 3 5/8 inches long without. So a great compact size, and it also weighs only 405 grams or just shy of a pound. There are no buttons or switches on this lens whatsoever, and it does lack image stabilization. The large oversized grippy focus ring does turn firmly and smoothly. On the front you'll find 67mm filter threads, as well as Sigma's proprietary coatings to help with ghosting and flare. On the back you'll find a nice metal mount, as well as the addition of a little rubber gasket for additional weather sealing. Overall, a decent little plastic build, pretty good for the money and without any bells and whistles. Rating it in terms of build and features, I give it 3 stars. Next, let's have a look at the value of this lens and look at a few comparables, and there really aren't many. Coming in at around $350 US, this lens is an absolute steal. Wide-angle lenses are far and few between for Sony APS-C cameras. You've got the 10-18 f4, a great lens but much more expensive and not nearly as fast. And there are a few other Sony lenses as well, but they're definitely not as fast and the value just isn't there compared to this little guy. Being a Sigma lens, it also offers a substantial warranty, so when it comes to value, I give this thing 4.5 stars. Next up, we'll touch on performance, jumping into the autofocus first, but long story short, this lens is a great performer. For you video shooters, I'm happy to tell you that this thing is very responsive, fast to focus, doesn't really hunt a lot for me, and is basically silent, so even if you're using an on-camera mic, you're in the clear. As far as focus breathing is concerned, you will notice it a tiny bit, but it's very well controlled. For those of you thinking about using this lens for vlogging, here's an idea of what that looks like. You can get away with it. I do personally prefer something a little bit wider, but here's an example of what you can expect without image stabilization, as this lens does lack it. If your camera does have IBIS, it's going to look something like this, and Sony's definitely not known for its IBIS. For me, I really don't notice a huge difference, but here they are side by side. Also, if you're wondering what this lens is going to look like on a full frame camera without the crop mode, this is it, so stick to crop mode or your crop sensor camera. For you photography guys, I'm happy to tell you that the autofocus is going to perform even faster than video. So whatever you're doing, this thing's going to perform. Here's a few photos that I took with this lens to show you exactly how versatile it is. Now, being a 16mm crop sensor lens, with the crop factor you're looking at an equivalent of 24mm, which is a very versatile focal length. It's wide enough to shoot landscapes, environmental portraits, you name it. And with a close minimum focus distance of under 10 inches, you can get nice and close to your subject for some very interesting shots. Its fast f1.4 aperture means you can shoot with confidence in low light, and its 9 aperture blades means it's got some beautiful background separation and bokeh. Let's have a closer look at image quality in terms of sharpness and optics. Now here we are wide open at f1.4, and the center of the image is very sharp. Even wide open, a great performance. The corners, however, are pretty decent for what this thing is. For an inexpensive wide-angle lens, it's actually a lot better than I'd expect to see. Stop down for a bit of an improvement, and it's going to continue all the way down to about f4, and at f4 in the center, incredibly sharp, and the corners are very good at this point. Now if we stop down to f5.6, this is probably going to be your best image quality all around, and f8 is going to look pretty darn good too. Anything after f8, maybe f11, you're going to start to notice some softness come back in those corners a little bit, and then pretty extreme at f16 here. Overall, the sharpness of this lens, especially in the middle, is a fantastic performer. Let's have a quick look at the distortion and vignetting of this lens. As you can see here, it does have some barrel distortion, nothing too out of control, and there is some heavy vignetting here wide open at f1.4. Use in-camera corrections or a profile correction like here in Lightroom to click that, and there you go, it's looking really good now. Alternatively, all you need to do is stop down a little bit to get rid of that vignetting in the corners. f2.8 will do just fine. Overall, given the price of this lens, it's actually quite surprising, and optically, I have absolutely no complaints. And that really goes for performance as a whole. There's not a ton of really great APS-C lenses for Sony E-mount cameras, and Sigma's done a great job at keeping this thing well priced, a great size, and, for what it is, a great performer. I give it 4.5 stars. So wrapping it all up, I think you can tell by now that I'm definitely a fan of this little lens. If I could go back and do it all over again, this is one of the lenses that would be in my bag from day one. As always, here's my personal pros and cons. Rating it as a whole, I give this lens a solid 4 stars. If you happen to be a subscriber, you also know that I like to rate things on a scale from never think about again to consider to definitely buy. And if you are looking for a reasonably wide, ultra-fast prime with great performance, a great size that's full of value, well, I would definitely pick this one up. If you're ready to pick up this lens, I'll drop affiliate links down in the description for you. And if you did like and enjoy this video, make sure you hit that like and subscribe button and join the community. As always, make mistakes, be yourself, and get out there and take some more pictures. See you next time.